Hello, everyone. This is the third in the series of Where, in the name of God, was it ever said, Chemdat Yamim Otokarata, that you called Shabbos Chemdat Yamim? And after bringing three different Perushim, today the fourth. And that is the Machzor Vitri from the base Medrash of Rashi, in which he says it's all a question of punctuation. We never got punctuation in the early Kitvei Yad, which eventually were printed, and therefore we don't know how to punctuate the pasuk. But if you did, then you would see that based on the punctuation, it's not that God called Shabbos Chemdat Yamim, the Jewish people did. The Jewish people said this is a very special day. It's more dear to us than the rest of the days of the week. We eat chulent, we eat gefilte fish, we sit with our families, we disconnect from our phones, and therefore, לכן קידש את יום השביעי לעשות חמדה לישראל מכל הימים, ועצו זו אנו מעידין עליו בכל שבת ושבת. It's not that God you called it, but we, the Jewish people, called it. But if that's the case, this is the way you should punctuate. The shliach tzibur named Rabbi Meir, who I have no idea who he is, but everyone quotes him. He was a shliach tzibur hagun. He would say like this: "Uvashvi'i ratzita bo v'kidashto chemdat yamim." Indeed, you wanted the seventh day, God. Torah says it in so many places. It's Chemdat Yamim for us. It is the most dear day for us. Oto karata zecher l'maaseh bereishis. You called it, God, zecher l'maaseh bereishis. So just put the apostrophe before the words Oto karata, and then Oto karata doesn't mean you called it Chemdat Yamim, but rather you called it zecher l'maaseh bereishis. That's what the Machzor Vitri says, and so many people quote him. The Shibbolei Haleket from Italy quotes him, probably based on his Rabbeim from Germany. The Tanya Rabbati also quotes him as well, who's from the same family as the Shibbolei Haleket, Mishpachat HaAnavim. And the Drisha on the Torah quotes it as well, Rabbi Yoshua Falk. So, if that's the case, we have no case, because all we did is punctuate wrong. You should say, Uvashvi'i ratzita bo v'kidashto chemdat yamim, and then stop, and then say, Oto karata zecher l'maaseh bereishis. Here's the problem. We already had a whole series about the fact that many do not say zecher l'maaseh bereishis in their davening in the morning, because the davening in the morning of Shabbos talks about Ma'amad Har Sinai, not about Maaseh Bereishis, which is Friday night. As the Aruch HaShulchan says, Etzleinu b'shachris, by us, we say only Amekatche Shvi and not Yismechu v'malchutcha. By the Sfardim, they say Yismechu v'malchutcha, but they do not say Zecher l'maaseh bereishis, and he doesn't understand why. We dedicated a whole series to that, so I won't go over it. Bottom line is, if this Perush is correct, how come so many delete the words Zecher l'maaseh bereishis? And since they delete the words, then really, it's Oto karata what? Chemdat Yamim Oto karata. You called it Chemdat Yamim. And therefore, we have our problem. Well, to solve our problem, I again quote from the wonderful book called Minhag Shabbat V'Chag from the lawyer Moshe Tzvi Ehrenberg, who quotes one of his listeners named Amit Meislish, who came up with the following theory, which I think is beautiful. He says the word chamud doesn't mean, like in modern Hebrew, cute, but rather, since our davening follows the biblical Hebrew as the Abud Raham establishes, look in the Torah, the word chamudot is written regarding the clothing of Esav. That Rivka took bigdei Esav benaha gadol chamudot asher ita babayit and gave it to Yaakov to wear to trick his father in that famous episode. The Chizkuni says on those words, these clothing were new, שמתכבד בהם בפני הבריאות, ומשמש בהם בפני אביו. These were special clothing, nice, new, clean clothing, that he would always wear to serve his father. The Medrash Rabbah indeed says that Rav Shimon ben Gamliel is embarrassed. He says, when I go to serve my father, I put on my junky clothing because I got to serve him. Sometimes he'll spill on me, or I'll have to take him into the bathtub and I'll get wet, so I put on junky clothes. But not Esav. Esav, בשעה שהיה משמש את אביו, לא היה משמשו אלא בבגדי מלכות. He would put on the most royal clothing. אין כבודו של אבא, Esav said, להיות משמשו אלא בבגדי מלכות. Based on this, maybe the words Chemdat Yamim Oto Karata means that, and I quote the words of Amit Mezlish, Kavod or Mechubad. It's a very respectful day, as opposed to the other 6 days of the week, because of the halachos, God, that you commanded us on Shabbos to make this day more mechubad, new, nice, like nice clothing than the rest of the week. And therefore, the word Chemdam Yamim Oto Karata is, because of your halachos, God, this day is more chamud in the sense of newer, different than what we usually wear, what we usually do. Now I'm going to add to his words. That's exactly what the Rambam says is the obligation of Kiddush, to make it muvdal, different from the days of the week. Just like Esav had special clothing to serve his father, we make this day special from the rest of the week. If that's the case, that's what God commanded, and we can definitely say, Chemdat Yamim Oto Karata, you made this day different, distinct, different from the rest of the days of the week. So, we took 4 words in davening, and we tried to understand, where did God say it? This is a very good exercise in not taking modern Hebrew and putting it into davening. Davening follows biblical Hebrew, and therefore the problem we raised, and also the solution.